US Defense Secretary James Mattis is expected to pull aside for a meeting with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore today. Both the Indian PM and US Defense Secretary Jim Mattis are in Singapore for the Shangri-La Dialogue, even though Mattis is giving a speech on Saturday. But this year's keynote is by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is expected to outline India's growing regional role. US Secretary of Defense James Mattis will also deliver a major speech on US leadership and the challenges of Indo-Pacific security. Mattis hopes to assure allies of America's commitment to the region and its aim of checking China's seemingly inexorable rise. In 2016, the United States designated India a major defense partner with the aim of improving military cooperation, increasing information sharing and cutting red tape to ease defense deals.
Know that. I believe Prime Minister Modi has a speech before Secretary Mattis. I would not be surprised if there was a pull aside, but I'll come back to you on that specific point.
All right, and bringing us more details on this news story, I'm joined in by our correspondent Siddhant Sibal. Siddhant, now that US Defense Secretary Jim Mattis is also going to be a part of the Shangri-La Dialogue, and we know that it is the first time, it's a historic moment for India, that Prime Minister Modi will be the one delivering the key speech at the dialogue. What can we expect to emerge out of this interaction between the two countries?
Well, the big focus will be the word Indo-Pacific, because this meeting, the pull-aside meeting, is coming on the back of the Pacific Command, the American Pacific Command being renamed as Indo-Pacific Command. And that will be the focus, because remember, both the Indian Prime Minister and the US Defense Secretary, the focus of the speech will be Indo-Pacific. Yesterday only in a speech, the US Defense Secretary talked about how this Pacific Command is important. The Indo-Pacific Command, he said that the Indo-Pacific Command stretches from Bollywood to Hollywood and from penguins to polar bears, and that, of course, was the focus. He also said that the 2018 National Defense Strategy, the first of its kind in decades, acknowledges Pacific challenges and signals America's resolve and lasting commitment to the Indo-Pacific region. Remember, this Indo-Pacific region is the most vital for the Americans, given the fact the rise of the Chinese, especially Chinese predatory practices. This was also one of the focus of Mattis' speech yesterday, when he talked about how number of Belt Road initiatives have caused predatory practices to be started in the region. And connectivity is the other focus. That will be the focus, because the Americans and the Indians are keen to have a connectivity project which can counter the Chinese connectivity projects.
All right, Siddhant, also, how is America's commitment to, Southeast Asia and its presence now, especially if Jim Mattis will be present at the Shangri-La Dialogue? How do we look at them, in terms of its aim of checking China's inexorable rise?
Well, China is a worry, not only for New Delhi, but for Washington, but more for Washington, because Washington sees China as its adversary in the region. And China, of course, as a growing power, has been indulging in practices that hasn't been very good, especially if you look at South Asian region, if you look at the port in Sri Lanka, if you look at practices in Pakistan. These countries are heading towards a debt which is too huge to handle itself, and clearly their sovereignty, it seems to be in danger. That is something that worries the countries as well as Washington. So that will be one of the focus. And remember, Shangri-La Dialogue this time around will be very important, because that will give the nitty-gritties of the Indo-Pacific concept that is now being implemented by Washington, and that involves India as a key stakeholder, because no longer Asia-Pacific is the word used in diplomatic dictionaries. It's Indo-Pacific. And remember, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit, this is a three-nation visit, and he started with Indonesia, a country that has also adopted the word Indo-Pacific in a joint statement.
Also a part of his Act East policy. Let's hope that better relations emerge after the Shangri-La Dialogue for India in terms of its reach with Southeast Asia, also America.